us in Hot Topics today is CNN's Van Jones, a man close to our hearts. So, as you know, it's Martin Luther King's birthday today. That was the I Have a Dream speech that Martin Luther King gave that people quote all the time. And it's an amazing speech. And if you don't know it, look it up. The words are extraordinary. And we walked out to Stevie Wonder's iconic classic, Happy Birthday. So how many people know the history behind that song?
Well, I didn't know it, but now I do.
You know it now.
Yeah.
But
I just learned today.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stevie and Coretta Scott King worked on it. It was a theme song for the campaign to make it the holiday.
Yes.
I knew that.
Well, most
I
people...
want a cookie or something. I'm brilliant.
I know it's true. I remember I was about 13 when it passed, and we were all excited that we were going to get an extra day off from school.
Right.
It was like, oh, we got a holiday now. And my father sat me down. He was like, you need to understand what this holiday is about. And it really, in a sense, has become the black birthday song. Because in my house, we sing happy birthday to you, and then it's happy birthday to you. Right? It's everybody's birthday. It's the black birthday
No,
song.
it's everybody's birthday song. That's how everybody sings it.
But the bad thing is that everybody can't hit the notes. It's like, and then the terrible ruins the party.
Yeah.
But I think it's appropriate that he not only has this day, but he also has the monument.
Oh, yeah.
Because in so many ways, he is among the final founders. See, we act like America was founded on one day when a bunch of guys signed something. It took centuries to found this country as a democratic republic where women could vote, where African Americans could vote, where LGBT folks fit in and matter. We're still founding America today, but he's one of the final founders, and he deserves that. He really does.
That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. That brings me to this. A black woman wrote a blog in the Huffington Post because she had no idea that the Virginia school that she went to was once for whites only until she watched the movie Hidden Figures. She says she shouldn't have to learn this kind of information and history from the movies. You know, if not for the movies, you wouldn't know jack.
No.
About any, you wouldn't know what? You wouldn't know about Anne Frank. You wouldn't know
All the
about...
President's Men is about Watergate. That really cemented the history of what happened there. People need to watch that.
One of the things that Hidden Figures has done is it's dug up the fact that there were a lot of women. Oh, yeah, we can do that.
The opening scene of that movie, if you haven't seen this movie,
the most amazing.
if you haven't seen this movie, Hidden Figures, it showed me what a racist and sexist I am. Because this little black girl comes out. This is not a spoiler, I'm just saying. This little black girl comes out and stands in front of a blackboard and is a genius. Now, if it was a little white Steve Jobs, I wouldn't have been blown away.
Yeah.
But to see a little black girl doing math at that level, I said, you know what? I am racist and sexist against I have never seen this before.
Well, because you didn't learn it. Not that you're racist. You never learned it.
But think about what that means, though. I'm an African-American civil rights dude. It's my job.
Yeah,
It's my job. And I'm struggling.
We'll be back with more with Van Jones, because you know we got lots to talk about today. We are back with CNN's Van Jones. So, Van, we are seeing a rise in racism and hate crimes among young people like Dylan Roof and the teens accused of the Facebook torture of a special needs teen. These are young people who grew up having a president of color, seeing that there are lots of different people in the world. What is happening? Why are people so angry?
Yeah, well, you know, it was, first of all, so heartbreaking. I was in South Carolina days after that shooting, and I got a chance to see, I put my hands where the bullet holes were, and that was just a completely devastating experience. That video where you saw African-American children, young people saying racist things and torturing someone, you know, something is really, really wrong. But I also want to point out that those people in South Carolina, the African Americans in South Carolina, came out within hours and said, we forgive this man. We're not going to let you steal our joy or our soul or our dignity. And they have been fighting to keep him from being killed. Dylann Roof wants to be killed. He wants to be executed. He wants to be a martyr. But they are in that Dr. King tradition. And they say everybody counts, everybody matters, everybody can be redeemed. So on the one hand, you're seeing some of the worst things ever, but let's not lose sight of the fact that we still have some of the most beautiful people in the world right here in the United States trying to do the right thing.
That's great. So let's talk about what's going on right now, because the inauguration of a certain person is happening on January 20th.
Who shall not be named.
That's right. It's happening on January 20th, and there are millions of people who did not vote for him and who feel frightened. I run into people all the time. Joy, keep talking. We're scared. We don't know what to do. What advice would you give to the millions of people who did not vote for him?
Elections, you win or lose on one day. But democracy, you have to try to win every day.
Every day.
Okay, democracy means every day. And so we have opportunities. You know, we still have a constitution. We still have organizations. We still have rights. We still get a chance to express ourselves. Do not forget, for shocking no one, as soon as he got in, the Republicans said, we're going to throw the ethics out. We don't have no more ethics. We do whatever we want to do. And guess what? Right. Democrats and Republicans, people, citizens, community, ordinary people stood up and said no, and they scored right away and said, never mind, we're sorry. So even
they shelved it for another day.
Exactly. Well, but it shows though the power of people, not just politicians. If you like the president, if you don't like the president, you still have a responsibility to participate.
Van, you've talked to people around the country for a series of specials you've done for CNN called The Messy Truth. What are people saying to you? What's your big takeaway from that?
Lord, we went and talked to some African-American mothers in Detroit. Now, Hillary Clinton lost the whole state of Michigan by only 10,000 votes. There was 100,000 people in Detroit alone who came out in 2012, didn't come out for Hillary. I said, well, this is like a murder mystery. What happened to 100,000 people? So I went to Detroit and I talked, and there was literally an African-American woman who said she did not vote for Hillary because Hillary was a woman. And my brains just came oozing out the I had to just move the camera. So, I mean, listen, and so that was crazy, but my point is, I feel like the conversation, and we were talking about this, has gotten so polarized. And the whole structure of the American discussion now is, I'm right, you're wrong.
Right.
I'm right, you're wrong. And I can never be on TV and just say, well, you know what, I just didn't know that. You are correct, Mr. Republican. You can't say that. Oh, I have to be right all the time. And so we decided, let's do a show where we can actually have surprise and confession and discovery together and not always put each other into boxes. So that's the messy truth.
Van Jones, you are, you know, some days I just want to put a ponytail on you and make you sit at our table. Thank you, Van Jones. The Messy Truth airs January 25th on CNN. And if you haven't seen any of them, please tune in, because this is one of the things that we all need to pay attention to, because after all, it is just us in the country, so got to do it. We'll be right back. Changing can be hard when seeds of hate are planted deep. Our next guest was a major force in the white power movement, founding member of a violent neo-Nazi group, and a reverend of a self-declared racial holy war. He says there's blood from innocent people on his hands, and that will never, ever wash off. Take a look, Arno Michaelis. So tell us what happened to you that turned you, that really sort of knocked you out.
Right. I'm here today because people that I claim to hate had the courage to set an example of humanity for me. A Jewish boss, a lesbian supervisor, black and Latino coworkers treated me with kindness when I least deserved it, but when I needed it most. And it really demonstrated how much better life could be if I could shed this self-imposed narrative of hatred that I had assumed as my identity.
Oh, interesting.
Well, you know, after you did all those terrible things, and they were terrible, what made you change? What changed your heart?
I was involved in hate groups for 7 years, and throughout that time, there was really like a growing sense of exhaustion. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I didn't have the courage to like acknowledge that and to face that inner voice that was telling me that I was a horrible person for what I was doing. That exhaustion brought me to a point where I was literally looking for an excuse to leave. And it was really amplified by those acts of kindness. Combined with my parents who, while they struggled as I was growing up, they never gave up on me. Both my mom and my dad let me know that they loved me and that they wanted me back. And in 1993, I had become a parent by then. My daughter's mother and I split up when my daughter was 18 months old.
Oh.
And a few months later, a second friend of mine was murdered in a street fight. And that was like the slap in the face moment that told me, like, this is the excuse you're looking for. Now's the time to leave.
So tell me, how did you become a white supremacist? And what drove you to hate people of different races and creeds and sexual orientations?
I come from two very long lines of alcoholism. And I always preface this by saying there are always reasons for violence. There's reasons for hate, but there are never excuses. So I would never want to make it sound like, well, these horrible things happen to me, that's my excuse. There's no excuse for acting like that. But as my parents fought a lot when I was young, my mom was miserable, and it made me miserable, so I started lashing out at other kids.
You were angry.
I was angry.
In a rage.
And I was a bully. I was a bully on the school bus. And as I kind of got into this antisocial behavior, I started to get a kick out of it. Like, I'm kind of a natural adrenaline junkie, and there's no adrenaline like having the principal yell at you in second grade. Like that, I like that kind of stuff.
But why turn it against people of a different color, a different race, a different ethnic background, different sexual orientation? What was the key to that?
That's a great question. The beginning of that for me was hearing white power skinhead music. I was already into punk rock. I was a really aggressive kid. I liked to fight. I liked fast, loud, hard, offensive music. I heard this white power skinhead band that told me all this violence I was already familiar with, all this hate that I felt was because I'm a warrior fighting for my people. And there's this majestic cause, and that if I fail, the white race will be wiped out off the face of the earth. And it was all very like melodramatic and very seductive.
Yeah.
And as an angry teenage kid who felt disconnected from my family, from society, from the rest of the world, like this was the connection that I was looking for.
That's interesting. Alienation.
You were a central figure in the white power movement for years, and you influenced many followers who came after you. And in 2012, one of those followers...
Atrocity was in many ways exactly who I used to be. He was in a white power band. He was part of the same skinhead gang that I had helped to found. When I see pictures of him, I see myself. And it's an incredibly uncomfortable feeling to have yourself staring you in the face like the worst that you've ever been. And someone who took the lives of people's fathers, somebody's mother, took the lives of a grandfather. The last person murdered that day was a man named Satwant Singh Kalika. He was the founder of the Sikh Temple of Wisconsin, and he fought the gunman with a butter knife. And he was shot 5 times before he fell. And that bought enough time for the police to get there that got in a firefight with the gunman and eventually ended to the gunman taking his own life. But Satwant's eldest son, Pardeep Kalika, reached out to me a couple months after the shooting.
We're going to talk about this when we come back, because when we come back, we'll meet Pardeep and find out why he reached out to Arno. I think you're going to be knocked out when you find out. We'll be right back.
Back with former white power leader Arno Michaelis. Back in 2012, a member of the group Arno started opened fire in a Milwaukee Sikh temple. The video you just saw, killing 6 people before turning the gun on himself. One of those killed was the father of Pardeep Kalika, who joins us now. Welcome.
Hello.
Okay. You reached out to Arno shortly after the tragedy. Why do that?
Just to understand the why. We understood the how until you make meaning of the how. We can't do anything about it. We're like, okay, let's do our best to put on a brave face for the world. But we really need to understand the why, and that's why I reached out to Arno.
Arno, now you say that Deep's father's killer was a mirror image of you. You said that before in the first segment.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, do you have feelings of guilt? Do you feel like you're responsible in some way because the person was like you?
Absolutely. I feel like I helped to create the environment that man came from. And in that sense, I certainly have responsibility for what he ended up doing. It could be argued that had I never existed, you know, things still may have unfolded, but the fact that I was party to that and that I did help organize that group and put that narrative out into the world through the music of my band, it would be ignorant of me, I think, to not feel responsibility.
So from inside, help us understand the possibility of forgiveness.
Forgiveness is definitely not about forgetting, because we definitely have not forgotten. Forgiveness is not simply about just getting over something, but forgiveness is trying to make a mission out of it. And when it is your pain, or you can draw strength from it.
What is it like between you now? What does the relationship look like?
Well, originally when I told people that I was going to meet a former white supremacist out for dinner and talk to him, everybody was like, "You've lost your mind. You must be going through something. Are you okay? Are you?" So I'm like, man, that's what. Am I okay?
What put you at ease?
What put me?
He asked me where we were meeting. My favorite restaurant is a Thai restaurant in Milwaukee, so I said, "Hey, we're going to meet at this Thai Lao place," and he was like, "Whew." No white supremacist would have ever stayed at a Thai food.
I was gauging his response. I was like, okay, well, if he says the burger place with like a bar, you know, I was like, that's stereotypical white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now they're missing out on a lot of good food.
Yeah, they're missing a lot of good food. They don't know. But right now, our relationship is like a genuine brotherhood. We hang out almost every day.
Wow.
So we go to lunch almost every day. You know, he watches our kids. He babysits.
Wow.
He comes over to the house without knocking sometimes and just walks in, and I'm like, oh, there he goes. There's a former white supremacist.
I call his mom, and one time before we were going out on a gig, like, she kind of took me aside and she's like, you know, "Are you okay? Like, are people after you?" And it really, it just touched me that she had that concern for me.
Such a great relationship that you have. It's a great story, really.
Honestly, it just turned into this, this brotherhood. And ever since then, we've been walking together. At times, I get tired. He picks me up. And hopefully, at times when he gets tired, I pick him up.
He's come to the rescue many times. We've done events where I broke down thinking about what happened to his father and to the other victims of the shooting, and he's literally took me in his arms and held me up.
You both seem to have found some purpose in this also.
Oh, yeah.
And now you have to help others to understand. So what are you doing to help to reach out?
Pardeep and I run an organization called Serve to Unite, which is really based on principles of the Sikh faith. Seva, which is service, helping other people, and Ekangar, which is that God is one, or God is truth, and essentially that all human beings are all part of the same creation. So in Serve to Unite, we work with young people from 2nd grade through college. We engage young people in creative service learning, and we connect them with people we call global mentors. So these are like superheroes of peace is kind of the best way to put it. A lot of survivors of violent extremism, a lot of former perpetrators of violent extremism like myself from all over the world who come into our classrooms via Skype and inspire our students to go out in their communities and change the world.
Thank you for being here and walking together and leading so many people on your journey. Thanks to Arno Michaelis and Pardeep Kalika. Arno's book, My Life After Hate, is available now. We'll be right back.
That there is equal opportunity for people of color.
Peace and equality.
That we come together.
A more inclusive America.
That we are all treated equally.
That people will get along.
That people have more empathy towards others. Peace and positivity.
A better tomorrow.
That we can put an end to racism.
That America will become less divided.
Unfortunately, that hope for unity is being questioned right now because this election has torn this country in half. And if you think your children aren't feeling the effects, you need to pay attention. A high school in Iowa was thrust into the national spotlight when student protests erupted after the election. So I went there with our friend and correspondent Clay Aiken to find out how they're handling a school divided. Take a look. The 2,000 students of West High School are a snapshot of America, a diverse cross-section of cultures and races.
For the most part, it's a pretty tolerant city and community. Lots of people are very accepting and welcoming.
But after the presidential election,
this is the night for Donald Trump. He is now going to be the 45th president of the United States.
Their world changed overnight.
It was really suffocating. Like, no one wanted to speak.
There were kids who wanted to talk about it. I was one of those kids. There was also kids who were completely silent throughout the day, or they were crying in the hallways. And then, of course, there was kids that were happy about it.
There was definitely a buzz around the school that you could tell, like, oh my gosh, he's actually going to be our president. And it was really crazy for a little bit there.
A lot of my friends who know I'm conservative didn't really talk to me that day, wouldn't really look at me, which was heartbreaking.
The day after the election, during lunch, I was walking away from like the line, and some kid bumped into me, and I said, "Oh, sorry, that's where you're going," and he said, "Go back home." And like his group of friends kind of like laughed to the side.
I had one girl tell me that somebody came up to her and he was like, "Oh, because Donald Trump won, you're gonna get deported. You're not gonna live here anymore. You need to go home."
We found some writing in the girls' bathroom.
What did it say?
One was like, home, and then they had the
swastika.
Yeah.
The results of the election were a way for people to really show their true colors.
Trump's election kind of woke up the racism in America.
What scared me the most is knowing that people think it's okay now to go out and call me the N-word, to go out and call me a terrorist, to go out and kind of like make fun of me.
I feel that people who supported Trump or voted for Trump are okay with racism.
Well, just because I'm a Republican doesn't mean I'm a racist. I mean, if you get to know me, I'm actually a pretty good guy.
I was called a member of the Hitler Youth, a Nazi.
Just because you like Trump?
Just because I supported Trump in the election, yeah.
What do you say to people that think because you're Republican, because you voted for Donald Trump, you're a racist?
People do have very negative views towards Republicans. Like, they think we're closed-minded, racist, women haters, stuff like that. And that's just simply not true.
You're nervous today.
Why? Because I'm afraid that the people who see this today are going to think that I'm a racist conservative or Republican, which I'm not.
I wore my Trump t-shirt before the election, yes.
Did you wear it afterwards?
No.
Why not?
Because I did not want to be lumped in with the small group of students who were making horrible comments at some of the students here, saying, like, go back to your own country, go back where you came from, or calling people a terrorist.
Like, it scared me, like, knowing that, like, my parents, like, if my mom was to go to the store, someone would say something to her. That if... Sorry. It just made me completely in shock that someone like that could become president.
Even after the election it's still pretty tough. I mean, there's still a tension I see every day.
A couple months after, I still feel that it's very tense. And if I were in a room with like a Trump supporter on my own, I'd feel very tense.
We did get some of those students in the same room, and it was tense, it was emotional, and we're showing you what happened next. We're back with Clay Aiken. Last segment, we showed you what happened when we went to an Iowa high school with students who are so divided by the election they didn't think they could sit in the same room. But take a look at what happened when they did.
Who in here supported Hillary Clinton? Just raise your hand if you supported Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. And then who in here supported Donald Trump? Okay.
Antonio, you told me earlier that what offended you was that Donald Trump said that Mexicans are criminals, and you're Mexican. How do you feel about people at the school, let's say Mason or Colin, that are supportive of Donald Trump.
Like, if you're supporting him, you're kind of supporting all of his platform. You're not just like saying, oh, like I only support certain aspects, because you're also supporting everything else that he stands for by saying, oh yeah, I like him.
I would disagree. I would say the fact that you can support someone, but you do not have to support every single thing they say or every single thing they do.
But can you ignore all that rhetoric, all that? Can you look past all that?
Yes, because I firmly support Trump in a lot of his policy stances.
We're not addressing the issues. We're not addressing that most of the things he said are inappropriate and degrade some human groups.
It's not really about voting for Donald Trump. It's about how your friends, your peers, how everyone's going to see you. Because I don't see you as, oh, he voted for Donald Trump, he's racist. I see you as, oh, he didn't take my feelings into consideration. He didn't think about all the negative things that's going to happen to me or my family.
And I think one of the things that I discovered in talking to Colin and Mason is that there are some people who aren't Donald Trump, but feel like they're being accused of all the bad things that Donald Trump did. Absolutely. Just because they supported him. Is that fair, Jillian?
I don't think that's necessarily fair, because you don't have to support your candidate fully. You can look past some of the things they said, but it's the action of looking past that really gets to people.
Well, Colin, you've been nervous about talking about this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have been also afraid to speak out for my own opinion because I didn't want politics to get in the way between my friendships.
He's afraid to talk about his opinion. Does that bother you?
It angers me that you're afraid. I definitely don't want you to be afraid, but I feel like you should think about how millions of other people in the United States, like what fear they're going through. On the Friday of the election week, my family was targeted. The fear that we're feeling and how intensified it is.
I'm going to call you out for a second. Okay. So the question was, does it bother you that he feels afraid to give his opinion? And instead of responding to that, you turned around and told him what he needs to do.
I was trying to explain my views and his views. And I'm mad because I don't want...
You were trying to guilt trip him because you were talking about how your family was targeted because of what Trump was saying about Muslims. And he was feeling afraid to speak out. And so you're like, well, my family's also afraid to speak out.
No, I was only trying to show him the other side of the story. There's two sides of a coin.
I feel like what we have to focus on now is not Donald Trump. It's hate. And
I agree, but there's also been hate against people who supported Trump as well.
And that's counterproductive. It goes on both parts.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
You were in my gym class last trimester, right? And, well, I wore the Make America Great Again hat also on Halloween, and then when I explained to you that I wore it, you said you lost all respect for my humanity.
I said I lost respect for you. And that's when he came out with I grabbing women by the genitals and all that, and I don't see how... I can't understand how you can look past that.
Still don't have respect for her?
I don't. It's not that I don't have respect for her as a human being or anything. It's just that I can never see myself in a future relationship as a friend with her, or as I can never understand why anyone could look past all that.
I don't think I'm ever going to get, no offense or anything, for you to respect me again. And I don't want respect. I just want understanding.
You said that your father was worried about you wearing a Make America Great Again hat.
Right.
Because he was afraid you might get beat up.
Yes.
And you said this morning that you're worried about your siblings and your family being able to walk into school. I bet you heard it a few times too.
You also said that there are your friends that won't wear the hijab anymore and will wear a hood instead because they're afraid. Do you all hear how you're all really saying the same thing? So how do you move forward? Where do you all go, and where does the country go? Jade?
We have to continue this conversation. That's the only way we can move forward, is to air out our differences.
Just looking at it from my point of view doesn't really allow me to learn and stuff, which is why I need to kind of talk with other people and kind of see their viewpoints and see kind of what they're saying and what they're kind of thinking.
Because our country definitely needs more unification and not more division.
I agree.
High five. Never thought I would have heard that one.
Some agreement there. What about that? That was about the only agreement we got at the end of the day.
I mean, this entire topic has kind of knotted me up. I don't know if you felt anything similar. I've had a knot in my stomach almost since we came back from Iowa, because it was sort of eye-opening how much kids are talking past each other, and how much there seemed to be in that room a lack of empathy on both sides, I think.
Yeah, on both sides. They definitely spoke past each other. And I was also just surprised at how involved they were with this election. Only one kid that we spoke to was able to vote. She voted for Donald Trump. The other ones aren't old enough to vote, but they are in it just as much as anyone. And that was eye-opening.
When you said that line about how you're all saying the same thing, that was eye-opening for me and for them, because I think it's really hard when you feel what you feel. If you're afraid, it's really hard for you to step into someone else's shoes in that moment because you're scared.
Yes.
You're scared. But if you can, and you cross that bridge for a second and you step into their shoes and see why they may too be feeling that same feeling, that's a way for those two kids, adults, whoever it may be, to come together.
Yeah.
And you made that happen in that moment, and that's something that we all need to do together on a daily basis, because the division is real, but we can come together.
But the thing that I'm thrilled about, and I hope will continue, is I hope this group meets once a week, every week, until everybody's heard.
Yeah.
Because what you saw there was just the seed of beginning to understand that, you know, we are all in this together, and we got to go to school together and figure it out. Now, you know what? We say thanks to the students of West High School, and thanks to Clay Aiken, and we say thanks to all of you who have taken this little journey for the last hour to talk about MLK and what it means and the challenges that we are facing as adults, and figure out how to get our little kids through. Because if the teenagers are scared, imagine what the little kids are going through. To get the teenagers through, to get the adults through, who also have a hard time talking about these things. But you know what? The bottom line is, if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. So we want you to have a great day and take a little time to enjoy whatever view you happen upon, and be kind. See you tomorrow.